Welcome to Northern Michigan Update. I'm State Senator Jason Allen, and today we have the representative from the Michigan Snowmobile Association, Bill Manson. I, as an active snowmobiler and member of the snowmobiling groups in our state, am very proud to be having Bill with us today. Welcome. I appreciate your time and the efforts that you've put forth.
You're very welcome.
Just kind of get an overview for our listeners. I know that you have been a strong voice in Lansing on snowmobiling issues. Can you talk a little bit about the Michigan Snowmobile Association?
Sure. Well, the association is a volunteer association. It's made up of interested snowmobilers that want to make their snowmobiling trip better in the state. So we have about 20,000 members. It's from not only the state of Michigan, but we have a lot of Indiana, Ohio members, people that snowmobile. We are a user group, meaning we use the trails. We also act as a voice for the snowmobile grant sponsors, which are the clubs out there that sign and brush and maintain the trail system out there. So we work in conjunction with them and the Department of Natural Resources, who has the overall authority of the trail system in the state.
With 20,000 members, you've got to be one of the largest user groups when you compare yourselves to bicyclists, horse riders, those types of groups.
Well, we are, and the people who join the association do it because they want to make snowmobiling better. You know, there's still thousands of snowmobilers out there that don't belong to the association that still benefit from our active participation in the snowmobile program. But we still talk for them whether they're members or not.
Right. Now, when we've been on our legislative snowmobile trips, which you've sponsored, and we're very grateful for that, and we've been all through northern Michigan and the eastern UP, and at one time all the way over to Marquette. Talk about sort of how the structure works. There are these different clubs that do trail maintenance, and are they part of your subgroups?
Sure. We have what's called grant sponsors. There's 70 grant sponsors in the state of Michigan. The majority of them are clubs, snowmobile clubs that are made up of snowmobilers and members that want to make the snowmobile trails better. Some groups are business groups, and some are a combination of a club and a business group and a chamber in an area. Anyway, those grant sponsors, they're charged with and they have a contract with the DNR to put in and maintain the snowmobile trails. Right now in the state of Michigan, and everybody kind of thinks that those trails are done by the DNR. They're not. They're managed by the Department of Natural Resources. They manage the money that comes in from snowmobile trail permits and registration stickers. But and it's paid out to those clubs to not only go out and sign the trails, brush the trails, groom the trails all winter long. And then that club also, because the majority of their trails may be on private land, they have to interact with the private landowners, get leases or easements signed for that year period going out. We typically do a 5-year lease with landowners. So when you look at the total 6,500 mile trail system, 30% is on state land, about 20% is on federal land, and 50% is on private property. So we have a very good relationship with a lot of those private property owners, and that allows us to get from the state or federal land into the hotels and motels, towns, so that we can come in and spend our snowmobile dollars.
We'll go through a typical club, and I've been just so impressed with the volunteer spirit and the activities. A typical club will be assigned a section of trail, and that runs usually 25 to 50 miles.
Most of the clubs out there have probably on average about 75 miles of trails. Wow. So some as high as almost 200 miles. I think the smallest amount of trail we have is about a 55-mile trail. So the club signs a contract with the Department of Natural Resources for X amount of dollars. They sign and brush the trail, and then it has to be inspected by their field contact to make sure that all the limbs are cut correctly, and there's a signing manual that says the stop ahead and stop signs have to be placed at certain areas, curve signs and caution signs have to be put in. Once that is complete, then the snow comes, and the trails are then groomed and maintained by the same club. The equipment, it's kind of evolved over the years.
Right, yeah.
Used to be the club had to go out and buy their own equipment, and then we put in a cost share program so that to offset the clubs because the cost of equipment was going up and up and up. So right now the program does buy 100% of that equipment, and it's used and maintained by the club. They have certain criteria that they have to keep up with, and depending on where you are and how much it gets used, it may get replaced anywhere from 3 to 10 years, depending on. But the average cost of a piece of grooming equipment now is close to $200,000.
Right. 200,000, and you know the thing I've been impressed with is that the terrains of the different clubs require so much different types of equipment.
Exactly right. There's not one fits all. We have from wheeled tractors on up to big tracked vehicles that are used to be working on ski hills. And those are probably the most expensive and probably have the least amount of longevity to them, because basically you are traveling, 50 or 60 miles down a hard ice unit trail and trying not to go maximum speed, but going anywhere from 7 to 8 miles an hour. So you can imagine, Senator, if you're out running a trail loop, that you may be grooming anywhere from 7 to 12 hours a night just to put a good trail down for the snowmobilers. So.
No, talking about the trail, and I know there's a science to this, is that to get this hard pan, which then allows you to travel at safe speeds, that requires a whole, you've got the track vehicle or the wheeled vehicle, and then there's a whole science to
there's a
sleds.
drag. Yep, there's a drag that we pull behind it, and that drag is usually anywhere from 10 to 16 feet long, and they're anywhere from 8 feet wide on up to 14, 16 feet wide. And in there is a series of cutter bars that actually cut the moguls off, and then in the middle it mixes it, and then at the very end there's a packer pan that packs it back in. And again, you mentioned the science. Most people don't know that on a 28-degree day, a trail will set up faster than a 0-degree day. And so the colder it is, the longer it takes to set up. But what we want to do is we really want this base that we pack in to set up, and then that makes for a nice smooth ride for snowmobilers to go on. And any of your listeners or viewers out there might have snowmobiled way back when, and there wasn't a lot of grooming going on, so then we got these moguls in the trail, and it just got to be to where they were unbearable and uncomfortable, and you didn't want to snowmobile. Well, as a snowmobiler, I want a nice smooth trail so that I and my family can go out and enjoy the beauty of the Northwoods and have an enjoyable ride and a safe ride.
Well, it's amazing. I had when we did our legislative snowmobile trip last year, for the first time I had the opportunity to ride with some of the grooming teams from the Pellston area. And it was just very interesting to take a look at, number one, the dedication of the volunteers.
No doubt about it.
I mean, so you think about it, that they're driving at 6 p.m. to maybe 3 or 4 in the morning.
Right.
And having all kinds of potential challenges along that.
Sure.
And doing that virtually, some of the guys gets a small stipend, but it's virtually for free.
Exactly. Most of them are done on a volunteer basis, and when I say that grooming takes place, just another last year to give you an idea how many times that groomer goes over that same trail. We have 6,500 miles of trail. Last year we groomed almost 18,000 miles.
Wow.
On one club.
Wow.
Wow. And so when you look at the overall, then we put in somewhere like 400,000 miles were groomed out in the whole state of Michigan, using almost $1 million of fuel. So, and I know everyone's thinking out there that their tax dollars are going to my sport, and they aren't. That's 100% of it's funded by the users out there.
Yeah, and so let's go through that. So we've talked about the great volunteer clubs that we have, and there's 6,000 miles of trails. So if I remember correctly, you can start someplace south of like Grand Rapids, and then go all the way up to Iron Mountain.
Yep, you can actually start right down on the Indiana border in southwest Michigan, on the Indiana border down in New Buffalo. There's a trail that winds its way up, and there's trail loops within, clubs have loops within, all the way up to the south end of Grand Rapids. And there we hit a roadblock with urban development. Consumed some of the private property where we can't get around Grand Rapids via trail. But then once you're on the north end of Grand Rapids towards Rockford, the trails start back up there, and also over near Muskegon, and they just fan out and spread northwards all through northern lower Michigan. You can go to the bridge and call the bridge authority, get on a trailer, get a ride over the bridge, and then you virtually can ride from the east side all the way to the west side of the UP.
Wow.
So.
And we have, if I remember correctly, one of the best trail systems in the United States.